Once we have a data frame set up with data, we can start doing some operations on it, like finding the maximum value. So, the first one I'm going to do is df.max, which simply tells us what is the maximum value in each of the columns. And we see redbud 13.4, pawpaw 7.0. And in a quick look, we can see that sure enough, these are the biggest values. And it's easy here because we're modeling tree growth. So more often than not, the last measurement is going to be the max. Let's look at just one item, though, and see if we can see the max of one column. Note here that I'm referring to our data frame and then the column called redbud. I can refer to that with dot notation, provided there aren't any special characters inside of that column name. And then I'm simply invoking the max function. Let's go a little bit further and see if we can pull out the entire row that aligns to this max value. And we did. In this case, let's break it down. The df is referring to our data frame, and then inside of the square brackets, we're effectively giving it a filtering query. And the filtering query is where the redbud equals the redbud max. So that's going to return to us essentially an identifier for that record where the redbud is at its max height. And then within the square brackets, the df in the square brackets, that will return to us the entire row. Now, let's start with this statement, but add a little bit more. What if I add index to the end of this? It returns to me the index value, its type, and the index name. I can actually go a little bit further on this by appending 0 to the end of index, and that will return to me only the index value. So you see what we did is we found the max value of one column, and then we're able to find that row, and then we're able to find the index for that row. So handy way to do a little bit of lookup if we want to find a certain value in a data frame. And by the way, what data type is the index? We'll just wrap it in a type command, and we see it's pandas core index space index, which is an index that pandas effectively uses for collections like the data frame. Now that we've played a little bit with indices, we can do a bit of sorting. Let's say I want to sort the values of redbud from tallest to smallest. So notice here I take our data frame and I invoke the sort values function on it, that sort underscore values, and then I pass in the column that I want to sort and whether I want it to be ascending or descending. And sure enough, here you see it's effectively turned our table upside down. It's taken the redbud and sorted it from largest to smallest. Now, what if I want to select only the redbud column? There are several ways I can do this. Note one way is to create a new data frame by passing in the existing frame and specifying which column or columns we want. The nice thing is this does a really clean job of keeping that index and also putting the labels where we want. We can also use dot notation to just refer to this as an existing redbud column, and you see that this returns back the same values, just kind of is one unit. And we're lucky here because redbud doesn't have any special characters in it. I could also use this syntax where I say the data frame and then I put the column name in quotes, which is handy if we do have columns with special characters or spaces in them. As a matter of fact, we can select multiple columns, but with one footnote. You notice that in our selection criteria, we have one square bracket to indicate that we're selecting from this data frame, but then an inner square bracket to indicate that we're passing a list of items that we want to select. So be careful on that. If we're selecting only one, we only need one set of square brackets, but if we're selecting several columns, we need to have a set of square brackets nested within a set of square brackets. Let's learn a little bit about our data. Notice that describe, the describe function on the data frame, will take a look at our numeric columns and give us some statistics like the count or the number of items, the mean, the standard deviation, the minimum, the first, second, and third quartile, and the max as well. So this can help us when we're looking for outliers in data and also when we're thinking about how to fill data that's missing. Sometimes we can use something like a mean if we want to fill in some data. But nonetheless, this is one of the first places we should look and we say, hey, do these numbers make sense? Now, we can look at just one column if we wish as well. Note here I'm describing only the redbud, so filter out all the others, and then if I want to look at just one item, I can say df describe redbud, and then I can ask for its mean. And there we go. 8.31667. Now, very careful here. Notice that we're actually asking for this row called mean, which is why we have it looking like this. Careful to avoid calling the function mean, which is a legitimate function, but it's going to give us an unexpected result. It's actually going to give us the mean of all these numbers, not this number right here. So just careful on that one. One more neat thing we can do is selection with other comparison operators. So you've seen so far that we've used things like the double equal to say that these things are equal, but we can also use things like greater than and less than. So in this case, I'm selecting only rows where the apple tree is greater than 10, and you see it gives me the complete list of rows back, but only those where the apple is greater than 10. So that's a look at some of the ways that we can aggregate data and select data from a data frame. Data frames are going to be very useful for us, especially as we're working through data mining for business intelligence, because the data frame is effectively a common language that we can use to move data around our models.